Welcome to the People Pleaser Support Group, where we hold space for each other's healing journey in a way that honors our lived experiences and we encourage each other's recovery. My name is Tina Rose, and I have been summoned to change the trajectory of your life. I'm not here to rescue you. I can't do that. It's not anybody else's job to rescue you except yours. I am just here to give you practical examples of ways that you people please. Practical examples of things that you can do to heal those habits, that learned behavior within yourself. And it's up to you to take the motorcycle by the handles and drive it straight through to your recovery. So today I am going to offer an energy healing toward the end, but I want to talk a little bit about over explaining, how people pleasers over explain. I'm going to try to give you a few different situations. And the first one will be when you are over explaining because you feel deep down you don't feel worthy enough to have a boundary. So I'm going to read this, make sure I get it right. And I have done this, I wouldn't say millions of times. I'm sure I have millions in my lifetime. So I'm not judging anybody. I'm just pointing things out that will help us grow and expand closer to our true self. So, yeah, we explain why before we say what. Here's an example of something like I would say. Well, I appreciate the invitation. I can't come tonight because I've had a really long week and I haven't been sleeping good and my body's been off and I don't want you to think I don't care. Right? At least we didn't say yes, but here we're over explaining why. A simple, no, that doesn't work good for me. No, I can't do that. No, I can't come tonight. Just a simple one liner. Um, yeah, and I feel like it's because we never felt worthy. I had no self worth. And I know that's why I would say those things like that. I would over explain in situations like that. Probably what I would have done was gone even more too far than that, and I would have said yes when I wanted to say no. Yeah. But as I got a little further into my healing process, I did begin to say no like this. I would over explain. So it is a gradual process. Um, and another example, I tried to think of some other ones that I had done. Like, for example, you need to ask somebody to do something to help you at work. And the funny thing about it was, it was probably their job anyway, in my case. But I go in and I start apologizing right off the bat before I even say why I'm talking to them at that moment. I, I'm sorry to have to ask you this. I'm just crunched on time, and you're better at it than I am anyway. But could you do, you know, answer the phones or and a lot of times I would take time off and I would be saying, I know it's 5 days in a row. It's a whole week of vacation I'm taking at one time. Um, I hope that's going to be okay and not be too hard on you, and just things like that. Okay, let's see what else I've got up here. I really don't want to bother you. Um, and another thing that I would catch myself doing, toward like the last year or so, toward the end of my early stages, okay, of healing. But you hear someone else says something about, oh, they made a mistake, and they'll say, oh, I made a mistake. And then you start justifying their mistake and why it would be so easy to make a mistake. There were so many things that I said that were so unnecessary. And I was always trying to manage the way someone else was feeling. And I was always, even if I would step out and I started to get, more into practice of trying to use my voice, and I would say what I thought about something, usually when somebody asked me. But I would always qualify like, I'm probably wrong, but that's what I was thinking. Okay. Um, Another time is when we are over clarifying to prevent being misread, right? We try to control the other person's interpretation of what we're saying or what we mean. And I would say things like, I'm saying this with love, not criticism. And I really care about you, and I don't want this to come across wrong. And this is probably because our past experiences of being misunderstood so much, punished and abandoned emotionally for our honesty. These are just some really great examples because I used to do these all the time. Let me see another. Or someone asks you to do something and you don't want to do it, and you don't want to do it. You're not required to do it. It's not in your job description or anything outside of work. Not wanting to do it is enough. But as a people pleaser, we explain away. I'm really sorry. I wish I could help, but I've just been so overwhelmed lately, and I don't want you to think I don't care. And you just keep going and going. If you are able to say no. And there was a time when, in the later stages of my recovery, people pleasing recovery, where I took some big steps. I was actually guided to do this by my spirit team. Um, I had fallen into a job. It was dropped in my lap because it was for me, it was happening for me to help me have situations where I needed to stand in my boundaries a lot. And it was about the third year that I had worked for this person. And all 3 years, they were verbally abusive, insensitive, manipulative, and controlling. And all along, I had done pretty good. I had voiced, you know, I don't like when you talk to me that way. I'm not accustomed to being spoken to that way. I mean, I was saying the things and I was holding my ground in my boundaries, but it just kept going. I mean, it would get better for a while, then it would come back because that person was so, entrapped in their master manipulation behavior and whatnot. So I wasn't going to fix them. And so my guides guided me to report that person to human resources. I mean, this was hard. That was hard. I had never done that before. But I wanted to show myself that I had the courage to do the right thing for myself and for the rest of the office. Um, so I did. I reported that person to Human Resources, and this is what happened. I went all that way, had all that courage, and did all that. And I was still having courage. But this old behavior came back in when I was sitting in the office with that person and the HR department on a conference call to talk about this. I actually caught myself making light of it. After a while, I was saying things like, I said something, well, I know that such and such is a good person, really uh, not that bad of a person. Maybe I just ask the questions that I need answered when they are like super busy or overwhelmed with something that they're working on. So I was justifying why they were verbally abusive. Yeah, and sitting there in that chair, I was taken back by my own behavior. I noticed it immediately, but I couldn't. I mean, I couldn't go back. I had already said everything that was factual about the things that were said and done. So um, I had to leave it there. And it did get better a little bit as far as the abusive behavior, the verbiage, um, the words that they would speak to us. But there's just too much healing needed on that side for that person. I mean, they had no idea, I think, to some extent that they were so manipulating and all that. But I didn't get up here to talk about somebody else. But I wanted to give you that example. I did all those major steps to stand in my boundaries and so forth, and still slipped up with that behavior of trying to take care of their feelings. Yeah. So let's. And it's important for me to point out right here that in that situation, I was very careful not to beat myself up about that. That's a learning curve too, a big one. Um, but it is possible because I have seen myself, uh, I've gotten a lot quicker at catching myself when I would be beating myself up about um, anything. I'm not 100%, but I have gotten a lot better at it. So I wanted to point that out. I've gotten good about saying, Tina, you did the best you could. You did the best you could. It's going to be a higher percentage of getting it, right for you and choosing you next time. And I just keep, beefing myself, my own perpetual pep talk. And that's what I want for you too, because you have to be your own validator. You have to validate yourself. You can't depend on anybody else outside of you to validate you or to understand what you're going through. You got to know it all right here. So let's get into the energy healing around being so quick to feel the need to over explain and all these situations. The energy healing is going to bring us some respite, is my idea. That is the reason for this healing transmission today. Some respite from our nervous system feeling like it needs to over explain, right? Because it is a nervous system strategy that we've developed. keep us safe. So get into your comfortable position and say, I am open to receive. We've got a lot of somewhat hard wind here tonight. Um, that's what if you hear it in the background. So the energy healing begins now. Begin by taking a few rounds of deep breathing. Breathing it in all the way up to your shoulder blades, shoulders, pausing at the top. And exhale long and slow. Keep that going. I've called in all our reinforcements for this healing transmission, and the energy is pouring out. And as far as affirmations, if you want to follow along and repeat after me, the energy is still pouring out my hands and my heart and my throat. I feel it so strong. It is safe for me to say, no, I can't commit to that, and then leave it there without saying anything else. It is safe for me to say, that doesn't work for me, and then be silent. And I choose not to over-explain. I am taking care of myself. After speaking your minimum true sentence for what is right for you, don't rush to fill a quiet space with more words. Allow some moments of silence, and quite often the other person will probably move on, either in the conversation or step away, and it's all okay. And when you have responded the way you truly want to respond, with your yes or your no, and you do not over-explain, it's important to stay focused in your body, to stay grounded. And you can say, I am still here and I am safe, because this success that you just had by not over-explaining doesn't always feel like confidence in that moment. It doesn't always feel like empowerment in that moment. You know what it feels like? It feels shaky. You feel shaky because you have nerves. You're stepping out, and this is the first time. And you're breathing fast. And then the confidence and the empowerment comes a little bit later, once you've had time to breathe and let things settle down. And you have good reason to have confidence and be empowered. And it'll get a little easier each time. And talk to your inner child and tell them how good they did, what a great job they did. And how they were successful. And then it's going to get better and easier. Blessed be, my friend. I hope this content has helped and helps you in the future with the way you respond. Less is better in these situations. Less is more. For you to get your power back and live as the sovereign being that you are. I love you.